On this episode of I'm Not a Lawyer, but the debrief.
Is that someone that I know DM'd me and was like, "Hey, you're covering the Karen Reed case." And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "That's so crazy. That's my hometown." I'm like, "Oh, girl, y'all out there acting crazy." And she was like, she then sent me a article and she was like, "Do you know who this is?" And it was Katie McLaughlin. And I was like, "Yeah, I told you I'm like obsessed with this case." And she was like, "Oh my gosh, that's my neighbor." And I was like, "Oh, girl." She was like, "I know her. I like when I go home." She said, "I'm going home this weekend. I'm finna probably see her mom, give her a hug." And I was like, "Oh,
Dang.
are you sure you want to do that? I don't know if that's what you want to do.
Oh.
I'm gonna be trashing your neighbor all on the internet."
Now, if you're not ready, then go ahead and just tell me you're not ready.
I object to you getting records. You've been intrusive into people's personal lives.
In other words, the car didn't hit him, and he wasn't hit by the car.
I'm not a lawyer, but
are y'all keeping up?
I'm not a lawyer, but
The debrief.
hello, welcome to another episode of I'm Not a Lawyer, but
The debrief.
I am Melanie, aka Mel, aka I'm Not a Lawyer, but, and I'm joined by my co-host
Goose. I'm gonna try to keep my voice elevated like this because I know I can get down to another octave. I need to speak up more and project my voice. All right, okay, all right, let's do it.
So today we are going to talk about.
We're gonna talk about Paquito YSL.
No, I'm not going to do YSL.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying. I don't think we're going to have enough time.
okay. Well, we're gonna talk about Karen Reed.
Okay.
Karen Reed.
Yes. Before we get into Karen Reed, I saw a bunch of suggestions for the section in which I talk about something I learned in the books that I'm reading. There were a ton of options. I just don't remember them off the top of my head. So we are going to go into the thing I learned about the baby bar this week. That's what we're going to call it right now until I steal one of the names y'all came up with. So I want to talk about, because 2 defamation lawsuits were filed in the last week. The first was one filed by Dan Schneider against the producers of that documentary Quiet on Set about the Nickelodeon in the 90s. So Dan Schneider filed a lawsuit. It was a defamation suit. And then yesterday, 50 Cent filed a defamation suit against the mother of his son, Daphne Joy, who is also named in the Diddy Rodney Jones lawsuit. And so, because of that, I thought it would be interesting to talk a little bit about defamation and what I learned about it. And the thing is, I should have looked up how to specifically pronounce this, but there are 2 types of defamation: slander and libel. I think is how you pronounce that word. It's libel. And slander specifically is when something is said. So if I said something about you that is untrue, that would be slander. If I wrote something about you or something that you can see with your eyes, that makes it libel. So first of all, those are the 2 differences. Okay. Slander, libel.
And they're both defamation.
They're both, they're
Okay.
types of defamation.
Okay.
And I'm just going to read this part. Slander is when something is spoken or said out loud, which charges any person with a crime or having been indicted, convicted, or punished for a crime, or tends to injure him with respect to his office, profession, trade, or business. Okay. You say something, and specifically when you tie it to they committed a crime or were indicted or something like that, and then it injures or affects their business. Libel defamation is when things are written or printed which expose someone to hatred, ridicule, or causes them to be shunned or avoided, which may also negatively affect them in terms of their job. So many times it has to affect them, right? Professionally, or, in society, in the community, etc. The thing that is interesting about defamation, though, is that it becomes different when you bring in celebrities. When it is a celebrity, because I think when you when you're the top, when you are a celebrity, you're the topic of many people's conversations. And so people may just be saying stuff they heard, kind of stuff, right? And so I could imagine there would be a whole lot of defamation suits that celebrities filed. And so there is this like asterisk kind of situation when it comes to a public figure. And that is that in order for a public figure to file a defamation lawsuit, they have to prove that the person who defamed them knew what they were doing or saying or writing was a lie and they did it anyway. And that would equal malice. Okay. So the difference with like a public figure is that the malice part, they have to do it intentionally, knowing that it's untrue. Right.
Okay.
So think like Tasha K, Cardi B.
Yep.
Okay, right? She was able to sue her. She proved repeatedly. She knew I didn't have this. I think it was an STD, and she still was saying it.
Yep.
That makes it defamation.
Malice.
It makes it malicious. Yes.
Malicious. Okay.
Malicious defamation.
Okay.
When it's like a regular person, right? Just like you and I, right? You don't have to have the malice part. Negligence is enough.
I'm not regular, but okay, go ahead.
Sure, absolutely not. And the difference between like negligence and what that matters is like it refers to the failure to exercise reasonable care. So like a reasonable person would have known that this wasn't true or would have figured out, you know what I'm saying? Like that would, if you act contrary to what a reasonable person would do, that would be negligent. The point is that when you are a public figure and you sue someone, you have to show that the person who defamed you did it maliciously. And when you are a regular person, you don't have to have the malicious part. They don't have to do it knowingly. They just have to do it negligently. Oh, somebody in the Patreon is saying specify that it has to affect them effectively, not just affect them in general. Let's move on because we have a ton to do. We'll chop that up after the Patreon and the episode to make that whole section feel a little more cohesive. Let's get into Karen Reed. So it's been a big week on Karen Reed. There's been a ton of things happening that we are going to attempt to get through in the hour that we have. So let's start with day 4 because we ended last week on day 3. And so what happened is that there's a firefighter, Katie McLaughlin, who is called to the scene the morning that John O'Keefe's body was found in front of 34 Fairview Road. So John is found. They are all screaming. And what ends up happening is Jennifer McCabe, who we will talk about, who is on the scene, ends up calling 911, obviously, and then the firefighters are dispatched to the scene. One of those firefighters is Katie McLaughlin. And while she is testifying, when she tells her story, she talks about when she heard Karen Reed say, I hit him. She talks about who was there, who she saw, etc. And then when the defense got up to cross-examine her, they brought up Caitlin Albert. And it was just it was a lot. Basically, Caitlin Albert is the daughter of the owners of the house in which John O'Keefe's body was found. Okay? So John O'Keefe is found in front of 34 Fairview Road. That house is owned by Brian Albert and Nicole Albert.
Yep.
Brian and Nicole Albert have a daughter named Caitlin Albert. And it just so happens that Caitlin Albert and Katie McLaughlin, the firefighter who's on the stand testifying, know each other. So let's just play. This is my chopped up version of how that conversation went, where the defense is asking her, this is a voir dire. So the jury has been excused and the defense is asking her about her relationship with this woman. And it just was a time. Yes, the owners at the time of the incident. Let me be specific. The owners at the time of the incident, that is who Caitlin Albert's parents are. Okay, here we go.
I would say she's an acquaintance. She's not a close friend. We have mutual friends.
How long have you known her?
Probably since high school.
And you know her family, generally?
I don't.
You don't know anything about her family?
I don't know her family.
Had you ever been to her house?
I would say, I would lean towards no. I have no recollection of ever being at her house.
Are you friends with her on social media?
Yes.
How long have you been social media friends, quote, friends with Caitlin Albert?
I don't know.
Or the second document appears to be a photograph. It's is that right?
Yes.
Do you see yourself in that photograph?
I do.
When was that photograph taken?
I have no idea.
Where was that photograph taken?
I don't know.
No idea how long ago that was?
I don't. Probably local. If it's a beach, I don't remember. I've never been away to a beach on vacation with all of these people, so probably local. Did I go to the beach at some point with these people? Yes. I don't know when this picture is from. It seems old to me, but
What would you call that if that's not a mini vacation?
a day at the beach.
That photograph looks a little older, correct?
They both look old to me. I don't know when they're from. I don't remember specifically what or where this is.
What's the location?
I don't know.
This is yet another socializing event with Caitlin that you can't recall.
I don't know where this is.
That's a close-up photograph of who?
Caitlin, and I'm also in it. It seems like I'm kind of kneeling down next to her.
You're sort of just behind Caitlin in that photograph?
Yes.
Caitlin's the one drinking the beer?
Yes.
You got your right arm around her?
Yes.
You both appear to be wearing swimwear?
Yes.
Bathing suits?
Yes.
Which was posted on social media.
Okay. Are you telling me that?
I'm asking you that. Have you ever seen that posted on social media?
I don't recall seeing this picture, but if it was on social media, then okay.
Do you recognize the bathing suit that you're wearing?
No.
You literally don't even recognize your own outfit?
No.
So that doesn't help define where you were and when that photograph was taken?
No, sir.
Did you talk to Caitlin at any point around January 29th, 2022?
No.
When was the last time you had talked to Caitlin before January 29th, 2022?
No, I don't talk to her. Like I said, we're not close friends. It's pretty infrequent that we would interact. I don't know when the last time before that.
Or disclosed to anybody that you had a relationship with Caitlin Albert?
No.
When you went to 34 Fairview, you knew that was the Albert family home, correct?
No.
You know any of Caitlin's siblings?
No.
You don't know Brian Albert Jr.?
No.
You know of any of her extended family that might be a little closer in age to you, like Colin Albert?
No.
Have you ever met any of them?
Not that I recall.
Hey, you can see in Karen's eyes, she wants to smile.
Oh, yeah.
Karen's face like,
Yeah.
what is she talking about?
You are playing yourself on this stage.
Also, before this, the first question was, do you know Caitlin?
He said, who is Caitlin Albert?
Yes. And she said, I know of a lady called.
She said,
named-
I went to high school with someone named Caitlin Albert.
Yeah.
And then he was like, do you know Caitlin Albert? And she was like, we're acquaintances.
Yeah.
Kinda. Meanwhile, I put up, if you're watching and not listening, I put up a picture of one of the pictures that he was referencing. But here is a few pictures of Caitlin and Kate. The fact that there's Caitlin, Katie, and Karen. And then there's a Carrie. There's too many, okay? They be messing me up. But these are all from the internet. This is all from Turtle Boy and the internet because they have all the information about this. But these are pictures of them, okay? And she is sitting there acting like she don't know anybody. And what's so funny to me is that, just like I think you were just saying, outfits are usually a trigger for you. Like when you see a picture, you usually are able to recall, oh yeah, that outfit, I know where we were. The background plus the outfit plus the people in it usually is able to make you figure out what was going on. Not to mention, these were in the last 5 or 10 years, and you acting like you don't know.
But then she also said, I have never went to the beach on a vacation before. So
with those people,
if you haven't done it before,
Then
this would trigger.
it would absolutely stand out in your memory.
Yes. In some of the comments, because I was watching this live, and some of the comments, people were like, this one lady said, I am 70 years old. And if you would show me a picture from 40 years ago with me on a beach with friends, I'm going to remember.
You're gonna remember.
Come on.
She was on there acting a fool and she made herself look stupid.
So stupid. And that's now you just discreditable now.
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, and exactly, what do the jurors think? Like, what would you think if you're a juror watching that? You're like, girl, you lying.
I want to state Canton,
Mhm.
Massachusetts.
Mhm.
Um, 24. The population is
Oh yeah,
24,000
small
or
town.
25,000. So you know,
Well, what's so
everybody in
funny
your high school.
is that someone that I know DM'd me and was like, "Hey, you're covering the Karen Reed case." And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "That's so crazy. That's my hometown." I'm like, "Oh, girl, y'all out there acting crazy." And she was like, she then sent me a article and she was like, "Do you know who this is?" And it was Katie McLaughlin. And I was like, "Yeah, yeah. I told you I'm like obsessed with this case." And she was like, "Oh my gosh, that's my neighbor." And I was like, oh, girl." She was like, "I know her. I like when I go home." She said, "I'm going home this weekend. I'm finna probably see her mom, give her a hug." And I was like, "Oh,
Dang.
are you sure you want to do that? I don't know if that's what you want to do.
Oh,
I'm gonna be trashing your neighbor all on the internet."
better watch yourself.
Ah, it's so funny. Anyway, so
Katie gonna act like she
then
don't know her either.
that day, okay, so Katie McLaughlin's on the stand doing exactly what I just showed you in the video.
Mm-hmm.
And then the judge releases the jurors to go on what I'm calling is a field trip. So they basically
Oh yeah.
get to go see the house, see 34 Fairview Road. They have Karen Reed's SUV, her black SUV that she was driving that morning. They have that parked outside of the house for the jurors to also see. They got to see its condition. They got to look inside. They got to do the whole thing, see the yard in which and where John was found. So I'm just gonna put those up for a second. But so anyway, these were some of the pictures from when they went to, obviously it's much different conditions. And if you see the Lexus, the tail light is like completely removed. It's not even like
Broken or
broken
anything.
or
Just
shattered. The whole thing is just gone.
yeah.
And a lot of people were talking about this, which is about the fact that I didn't know that, people didn't know that they get to go on field trips. What's really funny is it's not funny, but when I was watching the YNW Melly trial, they really, a part of that trial, a part of what is alleged to have happened is that Melly and his co-defendant, Cortland Henry, had went to like this desolate area and stage a drive-by at that area. And the state wanted to have the jurors go examine it, to go on what I'm calling a field trip to go see it. But the defense was like, no, they fought against it really badly. So anyway, this is not uncommon for the jurors to be able to go see a scene. If I guess the judge, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I'm assuming the judge determines that it is beneficial for the sake of the case. So anyway, they got to go do that on Friday.
I would like to go on the field trip myself
I
because
know,
you
right?
can't really tell the distance from like the light pole, I mean the flag pole and the fire
Fire
extinguisher
extinguisher.
to the front door.
Yeah.
So being able to see that would help out a lot.
Especially when you have the pictures, but being, to your point, but just being able to see it in person is
Yeah.
like just a completely different experience. And then after that, they come back and they put up on this. There's another firefighter who's called to the stand, and what's put up on the screen is John O'Keefe's arm. So forewarning, if you're watching and not listening, I'm gonna put up his. It's not like terribly graphic, but it is his arm that was injured from that evening. And the thing about them putting this image up is that up until now, what the jurors have heard is that he got out of the car,
Hmm.
she left, and then she came back and found him in the snow. The assumption, obviously, that they said in opening statement is that she hit him with her vehicle,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you, as a juror, are seeing this image for the first time, and all you are supposed to believe is that he was found with a jacket, like a small, it wasn't a puffy jacket, but he had some kind of like zip up. He had a sweatshirt and a jacket, like a fleece type
Yep, a
situation.
fleece. Yep.
He had jeans, a single sneaker. He's found at 6 o'clock in the morning in the snow.
Hmm.
And when you take off those clothes, that's what his arm looks like.
And if you look at his elbow and his forearm area right there, I'm just saying, it looks like a mouth.
Where?
Look
Oh, at the bottom?
right there where his
Oh, I
elbow
see.
is. It looks like teeth going into his elbow right there. That's exactly what it looks like. Yeah,
It's just so bizarre.
it is. Can you take that
Yeah,
down?
yeah, I can switch it.
Mhm.
It's just very, very bizarre that, and then the thing is the picture was put up. The defense is the one who introduced the picture, not the Commonwealth, which was interesting.
Mhm.
The defense has the firefighter up and he introduces it, but he doesn't have it up for very long. They don't spend a ton of time on it and then it comes down. So, and then they had sidebarred. So I believe there was probably some kind of objection that didn't allow for the full length questioning of that picture to go on. But anyway, it was introduced and then taken away. So I would be, if I was the jury, I'd be confused. I would be very confused. I would be very confused. They
It,
keep talking about his missing shoe. So when John O'Keefe is found, he's
and
found
his
all the
hat.
and his hat. He's found with all those clothes I just said, this jacket, these jeans. He has one single sneaker on.
Mhm.
And they just keep emphasizing that it hasn't been found yet. Eventually, apparently, according to the internet streets, it does get found. But as of now, the jurors don't know that the shoe was found. Just bizarre.
It is, and also I don't know if this was day 3 with that paramedic, but they showed him. Well, they asked him about the wounds on his arm, and the defense
Oh,
the defense asked him. Actually, the ambulance worker made a motion
mm-hmm,
like this.
mm-hmm.
So the defense said, so like a claw, and
Yeah.
then they objected to it.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, he made
The
the
yeah.
signal of a claw.
Uh,
So the judge ended up making them get off of it right
Yeah,
then
yeah.
and there. So um,
I'm sure it'll be circled back. I'm sure probably with another witness,
probably
maybe
a
a
doctor.
doctor,
Yeah.
yeah, somebody else who maybe somebody who did the autopsy or something like that.
Mhm.
It'll probably come back around. Anyway, okay, so then that was essentially Friday. And then Monday comes and Karen Reed's attorney starts off the day
Mhm.
with something to say to the judge. I'm just going to play the clip and then we will come back.
Since Katie McLaughlin testified on Thursday and Friday, we received a deluge of photographs that put her with Caitlin Albert on many different occasions after they graduated high school. We received information from their high school yearbook that they were more than just acquaintances in high school. They were teammates on the track team. And even after I sent that email with the photographs that I attached to it, late last night we received another photo where Katie McLaughlin and Caitlin Albert are standing next to each other in a photo at a baby shower in June of 2021, about 8 months before John O'Keefe's death.
Wow.
Come on.
Wow.
You all, there's nothing. The internet is here.
It
Okay.
is.
So look, you doing anything,
She up there like, I don't know that girl. We don't
good,
even be talking. What are you talking
good
about?
or bad, it's on the internet. It's there. And people are going to search and find that stuff. I know people are watching happy. Oh, photos. Let's see. Matching everything up. Oh my goodness. See, I ain't even seen all these.
And these aren't even all of them. These are just some of the pictures floating
Oh
around
my
the internet
goodness.
after Friday of these two girls, both
What is
in them.
that's a sports. That's everything.
It's, I
That looks
mean,
like prom. What's this? Did they go? What is that? Hunting or
I
something?
don't even know. But here's the thing, right? Because so this is what I was trying to be. Y'all, typically, I said this last time. Typically, I try to remain neutral. Generally, I try to see both sides.
Yeah.
This is a bit ridiculous for me, so my neutrality is damn near non-existent. But
I wonder what she thought.
on the other side of that,
Uh-huh.
do you know everybody that was on your sports teams?
Yes.
I don't. From
I
high school?
I played baseball. I wrestled, and I tried football for a little bit.
You know
It,
everybody that you played those sports with in high school?
by face.
Oh, I don't.
By face. If you say, "Do you know?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know him by face." I
You
played football or
You for
baseball.
sure don't know everybody you're like Facebook and Instagram friends with.
I know everybody that I've ever taken a picture with my arm around them.
That's fair.
Or if I've been
That's
if
fair.
I've been in a jacuzzi with you, I know you. For sure, for sure. I know your name. I know your brothers.
Are they just because you did that, if they called you today and asked you to help cover up a crime that they're involved in, you know them enough to commit to that?
Nah. But see, no, I don't. If I've been in people that know me, know not to call me
Well,
about no bug
that is
like that
the
anyway.
truth.
I'm like, boy, I got
If
too
you
much to
know
be
him,
worried about.
you are not calling
I'm
Greg
not
to help you
covering
cover
up
up a crime,
nothing for you.
okay? And if you don't know him, this is your warning.
Mm.
Don't call him.
Only thing I cover up is my body when I go to bed.
That was just my trying to play devil's advocate, trying to like present the other side, which I do think is a valid, it's more than a devil's advocate. I do think is valid. I don't know everybody that I played sports with. If you asked me and showed me a picture right now, I'd be like, that girl she might have been, I don't know. But if I actually, after watching this, I went through some of my old Facebook pictures because I was like, if somebody called these pictures up, right, and asked me about whoever is in them, there's people from Spelman that I went to college with that I have taken pictures with that I'm like, don't ask me about them.
Look,
So
that is true. I've taken plenty of pictures with people that I don't know.
okay,
For sure.
especially in a group.
Yeah. But that person would not be in more than 5 pictures with me.
That's fair. That's fair.
She's in
A lot of pictures.
prom,
And went to a baby shower 8 months
baby
ago.
shower,
Yeah.
all these events. No,
That's true.
there's no way in the world an associate of mine is in all these pictures with me.
Yeah.
Nah.
Okay, so that happens, and then the
Mhm.
judge says, "I'll get back to you," essentially. But low-key, she didn't get back to her because I mean, get back to him. I was watching, but
Yeah, she didn't
and
readdress it.
his whole point and why he brought that back up to the judge is because he was like, she perjured herself,
Mhm.
and I want these pictures to be admitted. So originally, when the defense attorney was questioning Katie McLaughlin, the whole intention was to get the pictures admitted so that the juries could see that she has this close relationship with Caitlin Albert. The judge declined, overruled who objected? He was trying to, they object. She sustained the objection and that the pictures could not come in. And so he was bringing it back up because he's like, no, like these pictures should come in. And so that's what the judge was supposed to rule on. But I didn't see where the judge actually ruled.
Yeah, she didn't bring it back up from what I saw either. But I'm quite sure it's going to come back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so from there, Monday starts off with Paul Gallagher.
Was it Paul first or was it Goode?
No, it was Paul.
It was Paul? Okay.
Yep. And Paul is a lieutenant with the Canton Police Department. And he testifies about going to the scene where John O'Keefe was found. John O'Keefe is transported to the hospital. And Paul Gallagher has to collect evidence from the scene.
I forgot because I was going to bring this cup so y'all can really see what it was. This I was about to say young man, this old veteran, I think it's 30-some years in the
or
game.
18.
Oh, 18.
One of them is 18, one of them 30, so I don't remember.
Well, veteran police officer, to obtain the blood and the evidence that's in the snow, they needed a container. They didn't have any containers. Even though they were a mile away from the police station, they walk across the street to another police officer's home who was the lead, who was the manager over all of the investigators, Lieutenant Keller, I believe. Which is crazy. All these police officers live on the same block.
I know.
Crazy. They go to him.
The chief don't live too far.
I'm telling
Everybody's
you,
close.
25,000 people. They all know each other. They all need to stop lying. They go and ask him for a container. He don't give them no Tupperware bowl. I know you got a Tupperware bowl. He gives them the Solo red cups that we be having parties with, drinking liquor out of, doing all the games with, the Solo cups. He then goes and scoops the snow up and puts it inside the solo cups.
But they
6 of them. They're not labeled, they're not sealed, they're not sanitized, nothing.
and they also use a leaf blower. So hold on, let me just play it.
Oh my goodness.
We decided we were going to process the scene with a leaf blower. I figured we could direct the snow off the area in a controlled fashion. At that time, Sergeant Goode volunteered to go get a snow blower. But what I told him in the meantime, I wanted to photograph the area. And you can see the very light pink spotting that we thought may be blood. And there was an object in the center as well. It was a broken clear cocktail glass. Well, blood samples, because they were frozen, we debated on how to collect it. We didn't think swabbing was going to be easy to do if it was frozen. So we decided on finding some type of temporary plastic evidence container. We were able to find large cups, and we took 6 samples. We bagged the 6 samples, and Sergeant Lank transported them back to Canton Police Headquarters.
Before I play the next clip, just a little bit of context the way I set this up. For the next set of clips, I have many times I have the witness explaining when they are on direct from the Commonwealth. So it's the direct examination, they're talking about it. And then the next clip will be the defense. So Karen Reed's team asking that witness about whatever it is that I just played, and them ripping them a new one because her team is really good.
Yeah, hold
So
on.
anyway,
Latoya, yes. Using a leaf blower in a controlled fashion.
yes, and so what happened is they had a leaf
What?
blower blowing the snow, and what he just said is as he was blowing the snow, he discovers not only these red spots that he believes is blood, but also this cocktail glass, broken cocktail glass.
Mhm.
Okay, so here is now Karen's team asking him about that process.
Temporary evidence containers to collect that blood, correct?
Yep, we utilized cups, plastic cups.
Those were red Solo cups, right?
That's correct.
The same kind of red Solo cup you drink beer out of at a barbecue?
Yeah, sure, you could.
And where did you get those red Solo cups?
We got them from Lieutenant Kelleher.
So in other words, you got, to use your words, the evidence containers from a neighbor.
Correct.
It's contained.
He had some Solo cups in his house. From 34 Fairview to Kenton PD. Give me an idea.
Mile and a half.
You didn't go back to Kenton PD to get actual evidence containers, correct?
We wouldn't have temporary plastic containers that what we were looking for. We're looking to take samples of snow. We wouldn't have had, I know for a fact we did not have those. If we needed bags.
At the time that you found the broken glass, would you rationally think, well, maybe the rest of this glass is inside the residence?
No.
You did not think that?
No, there was reason that I didn't think that.
Did you think that, well, let me ask you this. Did you ever go inside the house to search for the other part of the glass?
Absolutely not.
Because you made up your mind initially where that glass came from.
No.
What's your response to this?
I
How did you
know.
respond to that?
Well, and what's so interesting is when he asked him about why didn't you think it could have been in the house, and he said we had reason to not believe that. He says the reason was because I guess he knew that they had come from the bar, which I was like, tell me when do people commonly outside of New Orleans, do people commonly leave a bar, drive to another location with a cocktail glass
Yeah, I was
in
about
their
to say
hand?
glass,
In their hand.
maybe a paper solo cup.
Maybe a paper solo cup, maybe a plastic cup, but a cocktail glass from the bar? Listen, I'm not a lawyer or a thief or an alcoholic, but there have been times where I have left a place with a drink.
Tell me about it.
And I've never taken a cocktail glass, though.
Mm-mm.
I just haven't done that. So that was very interesting that was his reasoning.
But then his response, as if you have the audacity to ask me, would it be in the house? What?
I
Duh.
know.
That's the.
Right.
He should have he should have got that glass, took a picture of it, walked into the Albert's home
Yes.
and was like, "Here are the matching glasses."
I mean,
Man, 5 years in the game being a police officer. This is common sense.
yeah.
Come on, bro. And then uh with the containers, not knowing how to obtain this evidence after so many years of being in the game doing this, and you're in Boston, it snows all the time.
Yes, yes.
Y'all don't have any procedures. This
He
is
said he had never ever worked a scene with snow like this, which I was like, okay. Even the attorney was like, "Don't you live here? Haven't you lived here for 30?" I think he is the one that 30 years. And he was like, "Yeah, but like that never happened." I have on the screen, if you're watching, not listening, obviously. This is a picture of the solo cups that were used to get the snow blood. They were put into a brown grocery bag. So that is like a brown bag that you would get from a grocery store. And obviously no sealing because it's a solo cup. They don't have tops. And he said that it was sealed, but really it was like folded over because it's like a brown paper bag.
these are not solo cups, y'all. They're temporary containers.
That's what he called him.
And then they were bagged, literally grocery bag.
Yes. It's wild.
Look how this evidence is inside this stuff. Any and everything could fall in there.
Yes. 100%. Okay, so then we're kind of walking you guys through the chaos of the last few days. So then after that, let me see actually, because now I don't even remember what's next. Let's see.
Detective Sergeant Lank, make sure he has initial.
Okay.
Oh, they say it's not Boston. Boston is 15 minutes away.
From what?
They're in Massachusetts.
They're Canton. It's Canton.
Massachusetts.
Yes.
Okay.
So they were a mile from the Canton police station, if that's
Ah,
what they're talking about. It was
okay.
a mile from the station where they do stuff. But he said that they didn't need, the station wouldn't have even had the containers that he needed, which is also seems problematic because why not? How else do you guys get evidence? I don't understand that. That's so bizarre.
That's true too, but they don't. They say the state police
Yes, we're supposed to like
investigate all of the murders and
yeah.
unalivings and stuff like that. They don't ever have to do it. So, which is wild.
So, okay, so what that the next clip is, they after the evidence is collected the way that it was, Gallagher goes back to the scene and he goes
Mhm.
with another detective, Detective Lank.
Mhm.
And when they get up there, Sean Goode, who is another detective. I think he's also a detective. So it's the three of them. But Gallagher and Lank go inside the house finally. Okay. So they finally go into 34 Fairview Road where Brian Albert and Nicole Albert actually live. And it's the house that John O'Keefe is found in the yard of. They go back to the scene and they go inside the house.
Mhm.
And this clip is that. Hold on. Because what he says is he instructed Lank to get statements from the people inside the house. I just want to.
Did you also know
Lank, make sure he has initial statements from everybody present.
Does that mean the people inside the house?
Yes.
Did you also know that Sergeant Lank had an ongoing and a long-time relationship with the Albert family?
I know he knew them. I think you're mischaracterizing the relationship.
Did you see a problem with having somebody who knew the parties taking the initial statements from those parties?
Not at all. Sergeant Lank, no issue at all.
Did you look around the house for any sign of a struggle or a fight?
No.
Did you go to the basement at all?
No.
Did you or Sergeant Lank separate the witnesses before they were interviewed?
There was only one witness he was interviewing,
Who was that?
Jen McCabe.
Where was everybody else in the house?
I believe they were all in the same area, the kitchen. I believe it was the kitchen.
That interview of Jen McCabe was not recorded in any way. Audio or video recorded?
Correct.
Go ahead.
When they pull people over for simple traffic stops, they separate everybody.
Everybody.
If they
Everybody.
find a bag
Everybody
of
separated.
weed, some type of drugs, anything in your car,
No way.
they separate everybody. And you telling me you find you find a body You find a police officer of 16 years
Yes.
in the front lawn on the front lawn, and no one. Hey man, we need to get these stories straight. Don't let her talk to him. Don't let that. You don't do any investigating. Hey, Lank, Gallagher,
Uh-huh.
and Good are worthless.
Let me put this up just for context. I don't know if that's going to be visible. And it's a visual, okay, that we can talk through really quickly because I think it's helpful for the Jen McCabe part of that story to just place people. Okay. So, like we said, the house, 34 Fairview Road, is owned by Brian Albert, who is Boston Police Department, and then his wife, Nicole Albert. Okay, that's who owns it. And they have a daughter named Caitlin Albert, again, who is friends with the firefighter, Katie McLaughlin. Okay. So Jen McCabe and Nicole Albert are sisters. Okay. And so what you have to know about Jen McCabe is that when Karen Reed woke up and couldn't find John, she first calls Jen McCabe.
Mhm.
Jen McCabe is the one who the night before invited them to the party at her sister and brother-in-law's house. So she calls Jen because that's who invited them. So she's like, "What's up? Have you seen John?" Whatever.
Mhm.
She says no. The other person that Karen Reed calls is a woman named Carrie Roberts, who's at the very bottom of the screen if you're looking. Um, and so the two of them are the people helping Karen Reed search.
Okay.
Okay. And so what you just heard in that last video is that when Gallagher and Lank
Mhm.
and Good go back to the scene after the evidence is collected, they go back to 34 Fairview Road. They are there to speak specifically with Jennifer McCabe,
Mhm.
who again is the sister of the owners of the house,
Mhm.
the person who helped Karen search for John that morning. And she's also the person, we have a clip in a little while, but she's also the person who called police that morning to say, "Hey, we just discovered this body in the front of this house." Okay. So she's a key player to this, and you have to know who she is in all of this so that it makes sense. Somebody said upload it to Patreon. I will upload these docs to Patreon.
They,
Um,
they got the dog on there too.
they got the dog on there.
Chloe.
Here's just a closer view of that, because Brian Albert, again, Boston PD, has some brothers and they are very well connected in this area. Okay,
Mhm.
he has a brother named Chris who is a selectman. He has another brother who is a part of Canton PD. I think his name is
Mhm.
Kevin. So he just has a lot of family members. I'm gonna play the next part of the video where again it's Karen's team talking to Gallagher.
Seek to photograph the condition of that vehicle immediately when it arrived at the Sally Port.
I wasn't there. I can't say.
Hold on, sorry. I just want to is this homework for your baby Barbies? Uh Hold on, sorry. I needed to better introduce that clip,
Okay.
which is that after they all come to the scene and everything happens and John is transported, Karen's vehicle is towed away because she had expressed thoughts of self-harm. They ended up taking her to the hospital
Mhm.
and her vehicle gets towed away to Canton, I forgot what they call it, but it's basically a bay for
Mhm.
the vehicles. And when it is delivered there, no one takes a picture of how it looks upon arrival.
Yeah. They do
Okay.
that with rental vehicles,
They do it. I mean, there's a full check and there's a document you sign when you take a car and when you bring the car back.
and there's no dead bodies involved in
And
it.
yeah. Okay, here we go.
And during the course of the removal of that light, a taillight was broken, correct?
That's correct.
And shattered.
Yes.
Parts of it that were falling onto the ground.
I don't think there was anything falling on the ground at that point.
I remember.
So what happened is when the car is in the bay, the Canton Police Department is doing something to it for some reason.
I-
And during the course of that, they break her tail light
yeah, so they were for some reason trying to take the housing of the tail light out,
out.
and they were attempting to do so, and apparently the light breaks, and then
during that
Lieutenant
process.
Gallagher calls in their tech that
Uh-huh.
knows how to do it,
Yeah.
and then he ends up taking it off. But yeah, somehow
But
it breaks.
because there is no picture of how it looked when it first arrived, one of
Mhm.
the things that Karen's attorney brings up is you don't know if you broke it or broke it more. You don't know if it was damaged or not
Mm.
damaged because we don't even have a visual. We don't there you guys didn't even take a picture.
Yep.
Somebody said I'm ready to vote.
I don't understand. There's no protocol. There's no what you call them? SOPs.
Yeah.
There's nothing. What
It's
is SOP? System
standard order
Yeah.
procedures. Standard
I
standard
used to have to write
order
those.
of procedures.
Yep. Standard order of procedures. They're not following any rules, man. They're just going at it.
Yes.
I mean, they just going at it.
So the next person called to the stand, hopefully you guys are following this. The next person who's called to the stand is Detective Sean Goode. And he is, I'm just going to play it.
Hold on.
Yes.
So Gallagher, Lieutenant Lank, and Goode are the guys that were out there snow blowing the evidence and retaining the evidence. And they all three of them went into the home,
Well, yes.
right? Okay.
And the other thing to know, just for a little bit of context, is that Paul Gallagher, well, they're going to talk about it in the standard operating procedures.
Standard operating procedures.
What did I say? Order of procedures?
No, you said
I did.
standard.
I didn't say operating. Thank you, Sandy. It's standard operating. But what you have to know is that Paul Gallagher was at work the morning, right, in which the call came, and his job was actually dispatch. And so he was supposed to just be kind of manning when a call comes in, he kind of dispatches it to the team, tells people to go, etc. But what he's going to say, you'll see in the video, what he's going to say is that when it is dependent upon the seriousness of the call, he can decide as the supervisor to say it's important for me to be on scene. So he ends up leaving his position of dispatch and calling two other detectives, Lank and Goode, who were not at work, to come to the scene as well, because in his opinion, it was so serious. But you'll see that. Here we go. All right, back to the visual. The very bottom of this visual is a person named Brian Higgins. Okay. Brian Higgins is a Fed. Okay. He works for the ATF. And although he works for ATF, he has a satellite office at Canton Police Department. So he works out of Canton Police Department, even though that's not like he's a federal agent. So it really shouldn't be his office. But that's where he works. Apparently, he has a good relationship with the chief. So the chief allows him to work out of this office. Like I said, Paul Gallagher is on dispatch. And around 1:30, so John O'Keefe, the call for his body being discovered on the front lawn doesn't happen until around 6:00 in the morning. Paul Gallagher, of course, is at work overnight, and around 1:30, so hours before John is found, Brian Higgins, who works remotely, comes to the Canton Police Department at 1:30 in the morning.
And who's suspected to be out with John O'Keefe as well.
No, so
with that party.
Brian Higgins, it just so happens that Brian Higgins comes into the police department at 1:30. And what's going to come out is that Brian Higgins was also at the Albert's house that night the party happened. And he just so happens to come to the police department at 1:30. All of those times will start to matter eventually as well, but here we go.
Correct?
That's correct.
And shattered.
Yes.
Parts of it that were falling onto the ground.
I don't think there was anything falling on the ground at that point.
I remember at one point during the evening, he came in. I don't remember if he came into the dispatch or if I just saw him on one of the numerous monitors we have in dispatch. Didn't think anything of it. It's not uncommon. I believe it was probably 1:30. Again, I wasn't looking at a clock to see.
I'm I want the next one to play.
You know that Chief Berkowitz was the reason that he was allowed to maintain an office at the Canton Police Department.
I didn't know that.
Well, his close friend, Chief Berkowitz, was your boss on January 29th of 2022, correct?
His close friend?
Yeah, Brian Higgins' close friend, Chief Berkowitz, was your boss on January 29th of 2022.
Okay.
And does okay mean yes?
Yes.
Just after 1:30 a.m. while you were working dispatch, that's when you saw Brian Higgins enter the Canton Police Station at 1:30 in the morning, correct?
Correct.
And before he showed up there at 1:30, you hadn't called him to ask him to come in, correct?
No.
You hadn't asked him for any help with any investigation at 1:30, correct?
No.
This was a Friday night into early Saturday morning with a major blizzard forecast?
Correct.
So he ends up the point he's making is that there's a massive blizzard on the horizon. Okay, everybody is aware. Everybody that's testified has talked about how visibility was bad. The news had been warning them there's a storm coming.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy who is working remotely out of this office randomly comes to the police station at 1:30 in the morning.
Yep.
And it's going to come out that he was actually at that party. And that mysterious text that's going to happen later happened around 2:00 in the morning as well. How long to leave somebody out in the cold before they die?
That doesn't sound suspicious to you.
Except you came up there to finagle some stuff. I'm so curious what they're going what they're gonna allude to he was doing, but I mean,
finagle something, pick something
he was up there.
You doing something you ain't supposed to be doing. 1:30 in the morning, like you said, and there's a storm coming, and you work remote. Like you don't, you didn't have to come for whatever you came for, but it's the prosecution hasn't proven anything other than they walking on thin ice.
Yeah. One more thing I want to play. Let me just find it.
I thought Higgins was at the restaurant with them too, but no.
No,
at the bar.
No, because it was Jen McCabe who was at the bar and Matt McCabe who invited them.
Okay.
However, what's interesting is I think last week we talked about the fact that there's some alluding to Karen Reed text messaging and having some kind of like affair or like something nefarious with somebody. That somebody is Brian Higgins. So again, Brian Higgins was at the party Karen doesn't go to. And remember, I said in the opening, the Commonwealth had kind of said that there was some text messages. The person on the other end of that is Brian Higgins. And so the fact that it comes out that he's this ATF agent, he's good friends with the chief, he was at that party, he's allegedly texting Karen. We'll see if that's going to circle back to mean something. Okay, the last thing I think I'm going to play is the defense getting into with Sean Goode about his relationship with the Alberts, how well he knows the Alberts, because everybody in this knows everybody.
Sergeant Goode, you grew up in Canton?
I did.
You attended Canton Public Schools?
I did.
So it is fair to say that you graduated high school with Michael Proctor's sister and Christopher Albert's sister-in-law, correct?
Yes.
Christopher Albert is a Canton town selectman, is he not? Kevin Albert is a Canton police officer. You already testified that you knew Brian Albert as well, and you knew that he was a Boston police officer who lived in Canton, correct?
Yes.
You also knew that his family had been there for years. Before Brian Albert owned the house, his parents owned it, correct?
Yes.
On January 29th of 2022, you learned at approximately 6 a.m. that John O'Keefe's body was found on Brian Albert's front lawn, correct?
Yes.
And as of January 29th of 2022, You knew that Brian Albert at that time, of course, was the brother of your fellow Canton police officer, Kevin Albert, correct?
Yes.
And how long have you known Kevin Albert for?
As long as I worked at the Kent Police Department.
And that is approximately 18 years?
Coming up on 18 years, yes.
So he has this long relationship with the Albert family, and like I said, the Alberts are very well connected. They have one of them has a a pizza restaurant. They're a selectman. They're Boston police as well as Canton police, and he knows them. Okay, Sean Goode, who comes to the scene, does the first questioning and interviews of the people in the house, and he has this 18-year relationship with members of their family. Sure, that seems fine. There's no questions there. I actually hate how anyway, go ahead.
I'm lying for my people. I've been knowing you for 18 years.
You gonna lie?
I'm lying.
Well.
Hey. They didn't even record the interviews. They didn't record nothing.
No, they didn't record
So nobody
anything.
knows anything.
Yeah.
Nobody, all they did was they went in. All right, this is what happened. Matter of fact, man, I saw her tail light crack. So we can probably play off that. How can we make this happen to where she hit him with the vehicle? I'm just saying she could have hit him with the vehicle. I don't know, but they're in there just making they can all prepare their stories so well now because everybody with power is in on it.
Yeah. What's really weird though, I don't know if weird is the right word, but like the worst thing you can do when you're trying to keep something a secret is tell people.
Yes.
So the fact that there is this many people involved in this kind of situation is bad. That's not the way if you want to cover something up, you got to tell yourself, and that's it. You can't afford somebody. You tell one person, that one person's going to tell one person. Now all of a sudden 30 people know, and all they did was tell one more person.
Well, what happens if they all just don't say nothing and they find Karen not guilty? Then it's just an open case.
Well, there's a federal investigation.
But then they're like, where do they start? If
the feds?
Yeah, like who do they pin it? Who can they pin it on?
Oh.
If everybody's saying, I don't know, it ain't nothing's documented. They done messed up the crime scene. Y'all, the crime scene, they found him at 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
At 8 or 9 a.m., the crime scene was gone.
Yes, the tape was down. Everything was
Nothing.
Anybody could walk freely. And I mean, not to mention they never checked the Albert's home anyway.
Nothing.
They never check they don't check. They just don't check.
They don't investigate. Investigators.
Yeah.
They didn't investigate anything. And I think it's because that they were like, man, the state's supposed to be doing this. We ain't supposed to be doing it.
Well, I'm going to play the next clips back to back. I'm just going to kind of let them run. The first one is the defense asking Sean Goode when they were there, if John's hat was found or were there any pieces of we saw the picture. If you're watching visually, you saw the picture of the snow, and he's going to say, were there any instances of tail light that you found when you were there and, doing whatever? Were there any shoes that was found when you were there? Of course, the answer is no, right? When they're there 8, 9 o'clock hours after, they never find it.
Yep.
And what we're eventually going to learn is that days later, a week later,
on the 4th,
it magically appears. But anyway, I'm going to play that. And then the following one will be about his police report, will be about Sean Goode's police report. And there's enough context in there so you'll understand what's happening.
Right, that 1 hour, I should say, and 40 minutes, you did not find 45 pieces of red and black and clear taillight pieces at 34th Fair, correct?
No.
How many pieces of taillight did you find on or around that property?
That morning, none.
Did you find a men's hat, black in color?
No.
Did you find a size 12 men's shoe, black in color?
No.
your report clearly listed persons involved in the case, correct?
Correct.
Would you agree with me that with regard to all of the persons involved listed in your police report, everybody's first name and last name was completely spelled out except for one? Would you agree with that? Who was that?
Brian Albert.
Did you omit Brian Albert's first name to mask the fact that he was involved?
No. No.
Do you know who Colin Albert is?
I know that he is Chris Albert's son.
And so therefore he'd be Brian Albert's nephew?
Yes.
Anywhere in your report, do you mention that Colin Albert was present at 34 Fairview the night of January 28th going into January 29th?
No.
This report also lists home addresses for everyone in the persons involved section except for one person?
Brian Higgins.
Okay. So with regard to Brian Higgins, his home address was not listed on there, correct?
Correct.
And what address was listed for Brian Higgins?
1492 Washington Street.
It's the Town of Canton Police Department, correct?
Correct.
Brian Higgins was not an involved person because he was an investigator on the case, correct?
Correct.
He was not involved in this case in an official capacity, correct?
Correct.
You were, right?
Yes.
So listing the Canton Police Department as Sergeant Sean Goode's address would be appropriate. Would you agree?
Yes.
Why was Brian Higgins' address listed as the Canton Police Department?
I don't know.
But that is something that you kept in your report, correct?
Correct.
So let me just go over the report part really quick. What happened is that in the report, everybody who's in the report, their first and last name is listed in the report.
Mm-hmm.
The only person their name is not listed is Brian Albert, who again is the owner of the house. And so what he asked him, that's why I love her team, because they be straight up. Did you not include his name because you were trying to cover up the fact that that was his house? He was like, no, of course not.
No, I ain't do that. Man.
Meanwhile, everybody else's name is fully spelled out. Okay. The second thing is Colin Albert, who is Brian Albert's nephew, is at the house, obviously, okay, for the party. And yet his name is omitted from the report. It's no even trace that he was there in this report, even though he was there at the party. And then the last thing goes back again to Brian Higgins. And what he's saying is that when you are an investigator on a case, your address that may be listed he was saying it's not uncommon that your address would be the office or the address of the police station because you are in your official capacity, right, for the police. And so you don't reference your home address. And so Brian Higgins, who is not on this case in his official capacity, he was actually a part of this case because he was at the party. And yet, instead of listing his home address to illustrate the fact that it was a personal attendance, they list the police station's address to allude, to make you believe maybe he was there in an official capacity, and yet he wasn't. And so,
but Playboy, you a suspect.
He's absolutely a suspect. It's absolutely getting interesting. This case is much wilder. I mean, I knew it was crazy when I was like doing the initial research and made some videos a couple months ago, but I'm actually really surprised at how messy and falling apart it is. Like, I thought that it was going to be a little bit stronger, like have some pieces together. The firefighters can't even, one of them said that he heard her say, I hit him when he was standing right there. And then they show the picture and that man is nowhere even in the picture. You weren't even there when he said it. Y'all have the audio. It is so wildly not together that it makes it hard. Again, I said I typically try to be neutral, but in listening to this is really bad.
It is terrible.
It's really bad.
I'm baffled.
Yeah.
This is wild. They don't investigate anything. They didn't step no further than the foyer of that home.
Of the home.
And you see how big that house is.
Yeah.
They
They bring up the basement which I think is going to have a major play later. Like, I think the party was in the basement. And so they were like, when you were there, did you go to the basement? I think that was the defense's way of like bringing up to the jury. Like they're just planting these seeds along the way. And I think that when it's their turn to present their case, they'll circle back to all these seeds that they've already planted. And I think it's going to, I am surprised at how bad it is. I really am.
They're
Thought it
going.
was going to be. And you know what the crazy thing is? I mean, I don't know the demographic of Boston. I don't know the demographic of this jury either. I haven't seen like what's the split between men and women or ethnicity or nationality, whatever, race. So I don't know. But as a regular layperson, right, that would be called to be a juror, I would be up there like, now y'all are wasting my time. Somebody said I'm ready to vote. Literally, I would be ready to vote. They always emphasize the judge is like, please don't make any, you can't have a judgment already. You have to be open until the end of the trial because you never know, blah, 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 which I understand. However, like I said, this is just really bad. So anyway.
Are we going to do the face sheet?
No, because that happened on the day. That is almost the conclusion. Basically, there was one more thing that happened on day 5. But because the rest of what happened on day 5 makes sense for day 6, and I think we will hold because it's 2:05 and we have to pick up my daughter.
10-4.
Anyway, so that's the recap for Karen Read today. I'll have more YSL next week. Like I said, we just had so much to get through because they're so dense. Like their days are like they go through a bunch of witnesses and they get to the meat really quick, which I do enjoy. But goodness, it'd be a lot to cover. That said, we'll be back next week. I hope you guys are watching, or if you're not watching and you're just tuning in to hear us give you the update, I'm down with that too.
Yeah, you just like hearing my voice. That's
We'll see y'all next week for another couple days in the Karen Read trial.
Yeah, and it's gonna get thick.
It is
thick.
Follow me, I'm Not Lawyer But, on all the things. Subscribe if you're not subscribed.
Oh, and you can follow me at GOOLZBY on Instagram.
Bye.